is you're taking funding away from the BPS, giving it to the charter schools.
Okay.
Okay, it's because you feel in a certain way that you've picked out, like you said, the pick of the litter, and you're leaving the rut in the BPS. You know what I mean? Right. And I don't understand like why there's not more of an upcry, because you have a majority of the kids from the city are in BPS. And I think that the city, they've done it time and time again. We go back to busing. They thought that the Garrity rule was that if we put these kids out, South Boston, Charlestown, that they have a better chance at education. How did that turn out?
Terrible. That's so good.
Atrocious.
But there's got to be room for everybody, man.
But see, it's not necessarily to want everybody on the bus or the boat that's going ashore. And you've got to recognize, as far as Boston is concerned, because over the last 10 years, they handed over the whole consideration of Boston public school system to conduct pastors whose only heart was at Latin. Okay?
So he didn't really have
He even ran the system 5 years after he was retired. So my functional point is that we have been in a trickle-down system, and this has been rooted in the point that, for a main fact, there's not been a high school built in 25 years in this city.
Right.
So if you ain't built one, you ain't motivated, dedicated, or even, thinking about education. And then, wait, we built 4 police headquarters.
How many prisons?
We built 6.
too many.
Okay. So your point, and this is going to be a very good point, and it leads back to what you and I was talking about, like coming from Brighton. I remember my mother being at least interested enough to see what was Brighton giving me. And going from Brighton to Roxbury, and you know how I got promoted from the 9th to the 10th?
Tell me.
They said to me, we're gonna give you a certificate, and you have to go to the Y, from you, because you might have been credits shy or whatever from hanging out down there in the back of the school, which is totally mine. The point system. It was a point system. Yeah. So they said to me, and it goes back to an old cliche, what they say, that we can't swim.
Right.
So he said to me, well, if you want to get promoted, you're going to have to go to the Huntington Y, which is right behind Northeastern.
Right.
We're going to give you a certificate.
Back of our neighborhood.
And you have to swim. This is what they told me this is what they told me to graduate. And my mother said, are you kidding me? But they didn't know. It was one thing they didn't know. See, they thought I wasn't going to be able to do that. They didn't know that I was a member of the Barracudas from the Roxbury Boys and Girls Club. So, I said, well, this is what you want me to do? And so, and this is a true story. My wife today, Tina, went with me. She said, that's what they want you to do? I said, yeah, So I took it to the Y, and the minute I passed that, my mother said, you're out of this school. There's no way this is how you're gonna pass my kid without some formal, some educational form, just to swim the length of the pool, which says black people can't swim. So we know he's gonna fail.
Sets you up.
My last stroke, I was on my back. And then my wife was laughing. She was like, unbelievable. They didn't know you could do that. So what my point being is, going to Roxbury kind of made it a point to be a little bit more focused on education. Because she said it to me. This is what they want you to do to get through school.
Yeah. The one good thing that happened at Roxbury for us was, at the time, that was the transition where the system, because a lot of y'all don't know, the system didn't let black people teach.
No.
Boston Public Schools.
74 was the first year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there was a whole generation of young, black, motivated individuals, Steve Grace, Dennis Wilson, a whole bunch of folks that came into the school system and wanted us to understand that, don't take this.
Wow.
Get it all, There
need to be a story.
No, it is a story. It's a
Miss
very
Green,
interesting
Miss
story.
Chestnut, Miss Reed. I mean, we had 23, 24-year-olds who had just finished college saying, the world is out there.
It is. Right.
The world is out there. And that was, in a sense, a motivating thing, because I'm gonna tell you something. If you check, 80 to 90% of our folks that graduated between 76, 77, 78 under their tutelage or just being around that charismatic of black folks who were successful in our eyes.
Right.
We didn't know they had struggles and all that other shit, but We know they were successful because they came to school every day, they looked proper, they looked nice, they carried themselves, they articulated efficiently, and they cared about us. They showed genuine concern and care, and they had knowledge we didn't have. So when I go to schools to referee and stuff, I don't see that sort of excitement.
No, you don't. You know, it's really funny because this is how we said when we went to Roxbury, we got interested, like those of us who showed interest. We had an English teacher named Miss Feeney, Miss Costa. We had some teachers that used to pull me to the side, like when you're in class and you're joking around, you're doing this, and they'd say to me, "What do you want to do, Al? What do you want to do?" I said, "I'm going to do whatever I want to do." The story being said is, our English teacher, Miss Costa, said to me, "Well, I hear you're interested in running for student government," which I was.
Yeah.
And she said to me, "Do you know that you're going to be speaking in front of a whole lot of people?" I said, "Yeah, that's true." This lady, no lie, took me to Harvard and put me in a class to learn how to articulate myself, how to speak and to do whatever. Nobody ever knew that came out of Roxbury High. I had a good friend, we're still good friends to this day, matter of fact, was Darryl Furr. He was my vice president. I was class president. And I never ever forget, we used to joke around. I won't say the illicit things we used to do, but they said if you want to be serious, if you're going to talk in front of people, you have to learn to articulate yourself. So they put me in a program, and they taught me how to speak, and they gave me a job, which was very interesting being in high school because everybody else did A, B, C, D. Roxbury High, Miss Costa put me in a program at the Boston Globe to sit on the city desk.
Wow.
And I thought, like, I went from Brighton High, which was absolutely chaos.
Prison. It was a prison.
Exactly.
Big black drapes.
Wall, and the
and
wall.
the big black drapes. They pull the
We could
drapes
do whatever
down.
we want.
Come on, man.
The back of the stairs was just looking like
Back
something
is-
out of a
come on.
movie.
You
It
can
was
slip out the back
oh my
anytime,
God.
go down the
Same
hill.
building that they are now?
Same building.
Same
where they are.
building, bro.
Exact same building. where
Same
they are
building.
now.
And I'm gonna tell you something. They didn't put bulbs in the basement.
Oh my God.
They didn't put. It was one every other 3 or 4 lights.
like a dungeon.
And once you got past a certain, when you ran certain parts area, they couldn't see you from the other end. And we just duck right in. And then they had so many off rooms. Oh man, you could hook school into school. Seriously.
Hey, Donovan, do you remember our first time when they became us to get us? Like he was talking about, there was some young teachers that Mr. Grace, Mr. Glover,
Dennis Wilson.
Dennis Wilson. We had some. There was another teacher that what was the music teacher's? Help me out here. What was the music teacher's name?
Miss.
She was absolutely phenomenal. You know, I couldn't sing a lick, but she let me get by. What was her name?
Damn,
I
I
see
can-
her
I can
sometimes.
tell
But
you
anyway,
what
with
type
that
of
being
class
said,
you go.
they took us and they kind of made us into gentlemen. You know, we'd dress up. I remember senior freshman day. We had what we call senior freshman day, which the seniors would have to pick a freshman and actually tutorage them and teach them how to be. I was fortunate enough, my sister Deborah and her friends were my freshman friends. And it turned out great because then they did it
They
when
need
we
to do
left.
more of that.
Yeah.
They need to do more of that. But there was 2 points I was thinking of that I wanted to make. One was there was a report that came out. I think it was a report. I'm not sure if it was an internal report or if it was public. But a friend of mine who works in the Boston Public Schools shared it on social media. And it listed schools that the new superintendent was highlighting and thought were doing well, and these are the schools you want that are examples for who everybody should follow, and most of the schools on that list were charter schools. And so my point there is, when I said there's got to be room for everybody, if they're, I don't know if they're cooking the books, maybe they're cooking the books, and I'm not privy to that information, but if they're producing, successful individuals out of the city, do you pull funding from those charter schools and dump it back into the public schools? That's one question. And the second thing is, hold on, when the students walked out last week or the week before, whatever
Admirable.
it was, Mayor Walsh found some money miraculously.
Yeah.
So if the money's there to be accessed, what's the issue?
Okay, let's clear up something. It's not necessarily the resources are going to go back. There's $50,000 I think each student qualifies for that goes into the funding. So it's getting the student. We're going to do it in about 2 minutes, so we're wrapping this part up right now. And then there's another component where, what was the last issue you was just saying?
The walkout and the
Okay, the
funding?
walkout. the mayor always has resources necessary.
Rainy-
The simple fact that is, depending on what sort of, how would you say, snowball effect this can have, if it can be an avalanche, he'll shut it down and get the funding and boom, you're
Shut
out
him
the
up.
way.
Yeah.
But you get 2 or 3 days, kids don't go to school, it will create a momentum that there'll be one day nobody going to school, and then all of a sudden he'll have an epidemic. So there is always resources. You know, the biggest hassle with Menino was always coming up with summer fund, but summer fund, which was what, $1 million? But he could raise $25 million to show off the city.
Right.
So
It's always been
Where,
weird.
where the
so
priorities?
in hindsight, resources are always here. If you look at the city, there's stuff building. Somebody's getting paid, getting laid to build some stuff. Businesses and politicians are being equipped with necessary resources in their kitties
That's right.
because
Sure.
they're the ones that approve the permits. Right now, if you recognize Roxbury, our community, is predicated towards violence because it's on the upswing. It is on the upswing. Our school burned today, Roxbury High. When we come
I'm
back,
driving by there when I
we
leave
come
it
back,
today.
we're pitching violence. We're going to
Okay.
talk about violence, the difference between the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000. We've got individuals that have lost ones on this panel right here. We've lost loved ones. So we want you to come back with us, and we're going to kick it for you in a minute, and we're going to have the rise and the fall of the Don Hazel.
We taught him how to hit a baseball, how to hit a receiver, the strike zone, the net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
They say that when you're facing extreme danger, your life flashes before you. If you think that's sad, consider facing it before you even have enough life to flash before your eyes. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Deaths and injuries can be prevented by using the right car seat. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to know what is appropriate for each age and size.
Thank you. You got a king?
Go fish! In your face! In your face!
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. As you saw just before we scoped back in here, the rise and fall of Don Hazel. My interest and concern and my thought in promoting that opportunity of a movie that's coming out is that an individual that's in there I've watched for the last 40 years. We grew up as young men, and now we're grown men. And it's nice to see someone persevere, motivate themselves to put themselves in a position that they can aspire to accomplish their dreams. This is about someone and the people around him putting together and having an opportunity to show you all that in the city of Boston, things can happen just like they happen everywhere else. please, when you get an opportunity, check out The Rise and Fall of Don Hazel. Now, we just gave you a little perspective about schools, our reflections and thoughts about schools. We're going to reflect on violence. Violence is predicated because it's part of our life, it's part of what's happening, it's our history, it's no mystery. It's a disease that few people want to pick up and